I am historically pretty bad at artfight. Every year I get excited and prepare as many rests as I can, but inevitably I end up getting really tired or really depressed or just really busy in the summer, and I don't really have time to really make as many attacks as I want to. In the past few years, I've only ever made like 2 attacks a year, which is pretty abysmal, but not this year. For Artfight 2026, I plan to either end it with 10 attacks or at least a 30% battle ratio, which I thought it was a pretty small order. I did simple references so I wouldn't burn myself out, and I even limited myself to an hour and a half maximum per attack. There's 3 days of Artfight, surely I can get 10 attacks done. Just 10. Oh. So, yeah, I kind of failed at my goals for Artfight this year. If you're watching this, you might have too, so let's talk about why that isn't necessarily a bad thing. Since I said the word failed, you might assume that I'm utterly torn up about this, that I don't see any positives in this year, but that's not necessarily true. It's understandable, I think, to be upset or disappointed in yourself, and I can definitely say I feel that way about myself this year. Especially since I thought my goal was pretty damn simple. But, I think with big events like this, it can be pretty easy to get caught up in everything you could do without considering extraneous factors or things that might come up, or even just what your stamina is like, This July, I worked several 17.5-hour shifts. I hosted a guest in my house for 2 weeks straight, worked on commissions, was starting to sketch my webcomic, and I knew every single one of these things was going to happen. So when I set up my 10 pieces goal, that was actually supposed to be a pretty modest goal. It was supposed to be an achievable thing for me to do, something I could reach with not too much effort. However, I think that this mindset I was in, that mindset that is generally around, can really put down one of the most important elements of Artfight. Artfight is not a competition. Artfight is a gifting game. Rather than, looking at my statistics and saying, I only got 6 pieces done, I'm so disappointed and so upset with myself, I realized it makes a lot more sense to look at the attacks I created and say, hey, I drew 6 pieces of fan art for people. I drew 6 characters for people that I would not have otherwise drawn in my free time. Sounds a lot less disappointing, right? Well, that's what I think at least. This piece on screen right now is from my good friend Betty on Artfight of 2 of her newer OCs at the time. She had been talking a lot about them and their lore with some of our other friends, but I noticed there wasn't a lot of art showing them off yet. Really all they had were these, static A poses, which I am very guilty of. I understand. I love static A pose. Since, they had so much lore already talked about for them and not a lot of pieces to show that off, my goal ended up being to make a piece that could show off these vibes, these ideas that my friends had for their characters. I tried to look at all the lore that they had talked about and look at all the motifs and inspiration images that I might have collected over time, and I tried to make a piece that would make my friend happy. And it did. It really did. She really loved it, and our friends really liked it, and that was very rewarding as a first attack. I was very happy with this one. In a similar vein to getting attacks from your friends with characters that you already know their lore, I'd love to highlight this attack I got of my OC Juniper and my friend Twirewolf. We've been friends since we were pretty young, especially when Juniper was first created. It was actually created alongside some characters that a friend group I was in at the time were all creating together that included them. So, when I got the notification they had drawn one of my OCs and I saw that it was Juniper, it was really touching, When you have a friend who you made characters with, or even that you've talked about your characters with, and they draw that character for you, it always means a lot, at least to me. So I'm really sentimental, and I wanted to show this off to sort of talk about that aspect of Artfight from the receiver's end as well. I think in addition to making your friends happy with, fun surprises, you can also use Artfight to experiment with your art in ways that you typically wouldn't feel comfortable doing on your own. I know for me, I spend a lot of time drawing, but I don't spend a lot of time experimenting anymore. I always get nervous I'm going to waste my time by messing with things that I haven't really tried yet myself. Because what if I make a piece that doesn't look good because I tried something new? So I feel like Artfight's a really good way to sort of face that fear head on, because you might have ideas you haven't necessarily done before for characters you haven't drawn before either, so there's not as much baggage, I guess, attached, Dodie here was mentioned in one of Alpine Squib's videos last year, specifically his OC-tober video, which I really enjoyed and I think you guys should check out, since it doesn't seem to have done as well on his channel as some of his other videos. Ever since that video came out, though, I was super intrigued by the story snippet Alpine showed about Dodie here, also known as Dog Girl. I knew she was the perfect target for me to get a bit more experimental with my art. With the art piece I did for Betty, I'd already kind of messed with a monoline pen in that style. I don't really mess with that kind of pen with no line weight a lot, so I decided to push what I could do with that with my piece for Alpine. This made it super fun to work on my second attack here. Some of my favorite aspects have to be the color palette I landed on that I got through these gradient maps, and the fact I was able to communicate this overall tense atmosphere through the shading and effects. And while we're here, please look at this beautiful revenge Alpine surprised me with near the end of Artfight. Eden is an OC I hold very near and dear to my heart, so when the end of Artfight was drawing near and she hadn't received any attacks, I gotta admit, I was a little sad about it. I know the point of Artfight is not to receive, but to give. But you know, I really like her design. I really like her as a character. It was kind of sad she didn't really get much attention. Then Alpine decided to absolutely blow me away with this amazing piece of her. Even the smallest details are present and given such good attention. I'm still so obsessed with the overall result. I need to put this on my wall or something. If you don't follow him already, I have to encourage you to do so. I'd be surprised if you don't. He is one of my favorite creators on this site, for sure. Of course, you know, sometimes you will still end up disappointed with a piece, no matter how well it's received. Again, I was trying to experiment this art fight, and a lot of the times, you know, when you experiment, you won't always make something you're super obsessed with. I received this beautiful piece of my persona Briar from Cupid's Sin on the second day of Artfight, and I found out they were also a fan of Tales of Symphonia, one of my favorite games ever. Not only that, but they had a Tales of Symphonia OC that they shipped with Zealous Wilder, who is my favorite character from the game. I'm obsessed with this guy. I've been thinking about making a video about Tales of Symphonia. I've just been trying to figure out how to justify it, but if I do, he's getting a lot of attention. I love this guy. He's awesome. I knew I had to make a piece for them and their ship no matter what, but remember how I mentioned I had an hour-and-a-half time limit? Yeah, I kind of kicked my ass. Not only did I struggle with the background and my overall idea, but the overall piece just wasn't what I was imagining in my head. I had something a lot more grand, which I should have realized would not work with the time limit I was giving myself in a style that I wasn't familiar with drawing in. But you know what? They loved it. I posted it anyway, and they commented, they said they really liked it, and it reminded me that this, like I said, is a gifting game. You know, no matter how I feel about the end result, I still dedicated over an hour of my time to make someone a gift that they loved. And, you know, I have Zealous Wilder. That's pretty cool. Thing is that, like, if someone comes to you with a gift that they handmade for you, you're not going to be disappointed if it's just, like, not a masterpiece. Like, if someone painted you something, you're not going to be like, man, this isn't the Mona Lisa. Why did you give this to me? It means a lot when someone takes time out of their day to make something for you. So even though I was a little disappointed in myself, I still made something for someone, and I think that's really what matters in the end. For my next two attacks, I went back to making stuff for my friends. I was pretty demoralized after my last attack and uncertain in my own skills after I finished it, so I decided to go back to my comfort zone. Luckily, these pieces came out really nice. I'm really happy with both of them, probably my favorites that I actually made during Artfight this year. And you know, I am glad I decided to go back to my comfort zone for a bit. This piece is my friend Wazarimon's character Dolly, and was a revenge for this adorable chibi that they drew of my dear Calliope. The time limit, once again, did bite me in the ass. I was not able to finish the rendering, and I had much bigger plans for the background. But, you know, I noticed the time limit was coming up, and I think the piece still looks finished and appealing thanks to, you know, I did a simple background, I colored the line art, I did a paper texture overlay, and made it all come together. You know, I think, like I said, this has to be one of my favorite attacks to create all month. And I'm really glad that my friend also liked it as well. Again, this is what matters. This is sort of the point, you know? And I was a bit cautious, I will admit, about creating another piece for a personal friend. That's what most of my pieces ended up being. And I know some people do get upset when people mostly just attack their friends during Artfight, which I think is a valid critique. But, you know, two things did happen that led me to Tab House Character right after Wazarimon's. First, she drew this amazingly adorable piece of my Cosmic Carousel Girls having a sleepover. I still can't get over it. It's so cute. I was losing my mind when I saw it. And secondly, she received a piece that ended up lightening one of her OC skin tones. And at the time, that character didn't have much art of him, like, at all. So that OC, Marigod, who has a super cute design, and it's part of a story I've heard that I'm super interested in, just wasn't getting a lot of love, wasn't getting a lot of attention, and some of the attention that he did get made my friend kind of upset. So I ended up creating this piece, which was an attempt to be a bit more experimental and painterly than I'd been before. It was really fun. I'm really glad I sort of took my comfort zone and stretched it just a little bit. However, I did also break my rules. You might have seen at the very beginning of the speed paint, there was initially an entirely different idea for my attack, which was partially lined, and I restarted. I didn't think it was interesting. I was kind of upset, with how it was coming out. I did not want a repeat of the previous piece, so I completely restarted from scratch, and I restarted my timer, and thank God I did. This piece is probably my second favorite of everything I made this month. It came out very pretty. I love the rendering. And also, my friend drew me another awesome attack of my Persona Briar. Please go check her out. I have linked everyone who I mentioned's art fights down below. And if you want to go check out my profile, you can see everyone that attacked me. For my last attack, I ended up doing another revenge. When I was looking for characters to bookmark and just characters that I wanted to come back and draw, I tried to scroll through profiles of people who had attacked me already. I've never been great about revenging people, to be honest, so I was trying to do better this year. However, if you're like me and you struggle to revenge the attacks you get, I do have one piece of advice. Comment. When I attacked someone and I received a comment saying that they liked it, it made me super happy, it reinvigorated my drive for art fight, and made me very excited every time. This is a gifting game, so I think it's really important to show your appreciation, you know? I ended up redoing my sketch for this one as well, so I once again ran into my time limit. Since I wasn't very far in the sketch, I did not reset my timer. I also drew both of these after very tiring shifts at work, so, you know, I could have been better, but I did experiment with my coloring style a bit, and I'm pretty happy about how the coloring did come out. Do I think the background could have been better? Yes. Am I super pressed about it? No. Thank you again, Pips Arts, for attacking me, and here's the piece that they gave me. And of course, thank you everybody who attacked me. I love everything I got. I was so happy to get all of it. If you did not get a revenge, there is a chance I will get you next year, hopefully. I definitely have some bookmark characters I never got to draw from anyone who attacked me. I would highly encourage anyone who is watching this video to check out my art fight page, not for my characters, but to see the beautiful attacks I got this year. Seriously, big fan of all of them. Every single one, I had a huge smile on my face when I checked my account. I checked my notifications, and I saw what was made for me. Fan art means so much. I'm someone who is really OC-centered when it comes to art. My OCs have always mattered so much to me, and have meant they occupy such a big place in my heart. So the fan art means a lot, even if it's, you know, just for points or whatever. In the end, you know, I might have failed my art fight goals. I might have kind of lost at art fight, one might say. But I still made art for others, and I made some people that I care about really happy. And, you know, I think that's what matters. I think in the end, just making the gifts for people is the point of art fight, you know? I hope I can keep participating in art fight for years to come, and I hope you all will too. You know, I think it's important to think less about the points and the ratios and the just all the numbers of it all, and bringing a bit more joy into each other's worlds. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Let's see each other again soon. Bye!